Hi, this is Amy with Toolbox Tarot, and it's July 27th, 2018, and we've got a full moon out there, as well as the super lunar eclipse that's happening in other parts of the world. So it seems like a good night to take a good long look at the moon card in the tarot. So I've laid out the moon cards from almost all my decks. Okay, this is a very classic depiction of the moon. There it is. This is the Morgan Greer. It's got the main elements that most of the Rider-Waite moon cards have: the two towers, the moon, the dog, and the wolf, the crustacean, the waters of the unconscious, and a path for them to move into your life, which is what's happening when you get the moon card in your reading. So, the waters of the unconscious in this particular depiction of the moon card are very still. Here's another example of the moon card. We've got the wolf and the dog looking like they're on the struggle bus. But that's what happens when we're in the moon time, especially if we fight against it. So the wolf and the dog are wonderful symbols, as well as the teeny tiny crustacean in this particular depiction of the moon. I don't think we have to dig too deep to come up with what this metaphor is telling us about how we have our domesticated self, the part of ourself that we're proud, we're good little doggies that we put forward into the world, and we have trained them very well, and we feel good about it, and they're very lovable. And then there's the parts of ourself that are more like the wolf, and we might try to hide that away. And when the moon comes into a reading, we are having a harder time dealing with this unconscious aspect of ourself, or this part of ourself that we maybe think is too wild or not deserving our love as much as the nice little puppy dog. In this depiction of the moon, the waters of the unconscious are stirred up a bit, which is a metaphor for our feelings and emotions and things that we would rather not encounter are forcing themselves into our daily life. So this one, I'm not really sure. I really think I have a lot of value connected with this, but it does talk about the reflection, which is important. Symbol that's encapsulated, that the moon captures. The idea that while it looks like the moon is shining on us, in reality it is the sun that is reflecting off of the moon, that is lighting up the moon. So there's a deception involved. Also, these two are mirroring each other as well. So the reflection in this is just reminding you that you might think that you're living in this, you might be operating down here, thinking that this is your real life, this reflection, but what you think, I'm getting trippy. I think you're following me. I didn't want to go all the way down that because it was about to get pretty wild. This this right here is from the Spellcaster's Tarot, and I've really illustrating what a difference it is between the good doggy self and the wild wolf self. But look at how much fun they're having. They're really feeling it. They're feeling their roots. And that's something that's really important to keep in mind when you are feeling this discomfort, maybe these nightmare feelings, like your emotions are getting the better of you. You can't show up at the office the way that you're expected to without everything all buttoned down. So we can take a little cue from the dogs, and also from, this is the medieval Scarpini Tarot, and the crab looms large in this one. And the crab talks about a creature that looks like it's otherworldly, that does live in the waters of the unconscious, scuttles along the bottom in a creepy kind of I'll pinch you fashion, but also knows how to make it onto land, as do these feelings that will come up and bite us in the booty if we don't, make time to engage with them on their terms. So there's the way of engaging with the world. I'm going to come back to this one. There's ways of engaging with the world with our sun mind, like the part of ourselves that we take to the office. This is the Terra del Sol. And then there's the part of ourselves that we take to the office, and we might want to try to hide this other part of ourselves inside of ourselves. We might do it all the time. The childlike part that engages in fantasy and nightmares, and its fears get the better of it. The part of ourselves that dreams and doesn't try to always understand everything with a logical mind. Sometimes just feels the parts of ourselves that we allow to dream our way forward and feel our way forward in the darkness. The dog and the wolf seem to celebrate that space, and they're comfortable. They're not trying to force themselves into a business suit, and neither is the beautiful celebratory mermaid from the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. I love the backs on those. So what else can we say about here's another interesting depiction. This is from the Shadowscapes. Ooh, can we get in there? Yes. This one, I think, again goes to the reflection and maybe the wolf and dog, but it's just put forward in a different way. And that's the Shadowscapes Tarot. This is the Fountain Tarot, and it features the churning waters. So it's like not as much about reflection, but is about saying these waters of the unconscious and your feelings are churned up during this time. It's also got the wolf and the dog in here as well. Another depiction is the Connolly. At first glance, I'm really not into this card, but I think it's important here. Different imagery. I think these might be yads. But it's got the sword and the wands from the four suits of the tarot are the swords, the wands, the cups, and the pentacles. So pentacles aren't even showing up in here, are they? Unless, I don't think that, maybe that is a pentacle, but it's just kind of like tossed aside. It's barely embodied. It's just, there's a mention of it. Water is the element of the cups suit. So that's being indicated here in the waters of the unconscious. The swords represent the mind, and the wands represent our drive and our passion and our inspiration. But these are the yang symbols, and the cups or the water and the pentacles are the yin symbols of the tarot suits. And this is definitely, we're walking on this ground. We're in the moonscape now. And the logical mind is no good here. It's not a tool to use, and neither is your ambition. You're not driving. You are at the mercy of the moon. And I think that's kind of interesting. Speaking of being at the mercy of the moon, the Deviant Moon Tarot says that very well. A very different metaphor being used here, but It's really clear that these people are not in control, and it's kind of a nightmare, in truth. This one's also pretty nightmare-y, very focused on creepy things in our unconscious that we might be in the water with, which would really be unfortunate. And then the reflection, and it's quite beautiful. This is Nicoletta Ciccoli, and again with the backs on these. Barbara Moore's deck, the Hidden Realm. Barbara Moore is the author, and the art is by Julia Jeffrey. Pardon me. This one is a different kind of deck entirely. It's got none of the regular symbolism, but she tells a story. Barbara Moore tells a story that allows you to step into the card. And the artist does a really good job of like letting you know that this person's deranged all on her own. The story is really helpful, but I was determined not to like this deck because it's a fairy deck and I'm not a fairy person. But darn it, I do like it, and it's not just the art that I like, and it's not just the writing that I like. It's a really good combination. Journey of the Hidden Realm. This is the Everyday Witch depiction. They are cat heavy. And so we've got a cat and a panther taking the place of the dog and the wolf in this one. And the reflection as well. I'm kind of shooting down the road on these, aren't I? This is a little bit different as well. This is Terror of the Cat People by Karen Kuykendall. And this is a creature from another land that is made for seeing in the dark. I mean, not to say that cats aren't outfitted, in general, aren't outfitted for seeing in the dark, but this cat's not trying to see with its daytime eyes. It's using a different set of tools, as is this person from the land of the cat people. This is just a beautiful card from Cat Lynch's tarot, cut and paste tarot. That's what it is. It has, I don't think I've spoken about the two towers. The towers are first hinted at in the High Priestess card, which is the second card in the Major Arcana. The Moon is the 18th card, and the Major Arcana. I need to go back to the towers, don't I? Well, these could be towers too. The Moon in the Major, the towers in the Major Arcana show up in the High Priestess card, but there's a journey in the Major Arcana, and there's a progression, and you're deepening your knowledge and you're gaining new skills as you go through the tarot journey. And by the time that you get to card number 18, you're better equipped to deal with what the High Priestess is protecting, but hinting at in card number 2. This is Tarot of the Absurd, and it comes with 2 moon cards. This is the one that I always choose to use, and it's celebrating the fact that, okay, there's the water of the unconscious. These seem to be standing in for the towers. Here, dog, wolf, and a creature all cuddled up to bed in a safe moonscape. And it harkens back to this idea that we belong in this place of the unconscious just as much as we belong in the physical world, the material world that we're used to navigating. It's not a comfortable place, but it's a place where we are safe, and we've got plenty of experience in our dream time. And So I feel like that's a nice one. This one's a really good illustration of, this is the person you take to the office and maybe the person that you're trying to squelch at the office, but this person has to come out sometime, and that's what's happening in the moon. Look, this menacing building in the background. Ooh. All right, Tarot of the Absurd. You know, Slow Holler is my favorite deck, but I have not plumbed this one. It's nightmare-y, it's dark. There seem to be different phases of the moon, even a blood moon like tonight. Because it's, did I mention it's July 27th, 2018? Big lunar evening this evening. But I haven't plumbed this one. I haven't thought about it. I guess these flowers would die in the moonlight if they lived there all the time, and they look pretty dead. And a serpent will shed his skin. I also see that there's serpents in Tarot del Fuego, which is just a riot. It's a very watery card. I don't know if I showed this one or not. Handel is more on the Thoth or Thoth scale rather than the Rider-Waite, which most of these other ones are, or all of the other ones are. This one has a unicorn and a crustacean. The unicorn hints to myth and fantasy, and the book that goes with this says that it's just important to remember that myth isn't lacking in truth. It's just a tool that we use in the material world to try to grasp onto something that belongs in the spiritual world. So there's truth to be found in myth, and that's what that's about. And this is the Heart and Hands. The churny water person seems to be dreaming in distress. They have different kinds of water creatures stirring things up. And then this is the deck I used for the longest. I think I used this one for 15 years. It was like the only one I used. Only deck. And I think it's the Mythic Tarot from 1989. And the Morai is depicted here. And it's good and nightmarish. It definitely shows otherworldly and things that are out of focus. So that's a tour of the moon, and I hope that, the sun has gone down here, so I think I'm going to go outside and enjoy it, and I hope that you will too. Thank you for spending some time with me, and happy moon time.